My wife thought she could enjoy a secret fling under the excuse of an open relationship. But when the truth finally came crashing down, I walked away silently, leaving her drowning in regret as she realized the she destroyed could never be repaired. And I need to get this out. I need someone, anyone, to understand how one moment of weakness can entire world to the ground. Maybe if I write this down, maybe if I own every detail, I can find some way to live with what I've become. It started with a work conference. God, how cliche is that? Sarah had just given birth our second daughter 3 months earlier. She was exhausted, overwhelmed, barely sleeping. I should have been her rock. Instead I was resentful. The baby cried constantly. Emma, our 4-year-old, was acting out, desperate for attention we couldn't give her. Sarah would look at me with these hollow eyes, begging for help. And all I could think about was how our had become this endless cycle of diapers, tantrums, and cold dinners eaten standing in the kitchen. Never touch me anymore. I told her the night before I left for Denver. She was bouncing the baby, trying to stop the crying that had been going on for an hour. I'm touched out, Mike, she said, not even looking at me. I'm literally touched out. I need 5 minutes where someone isn't grabbing at me or needing something from me. I felt rejected. Unimportant. Like I'd become nothing more than a paycheck and an extra pair of hands for household chores. The man she used to light for was gone, replaced by this tired father who apparently couldn't compete with a screaming infant for his wife's attention. So when Jessica from the Portland office started flirting with me at the hotel bar, I didn't shut it down. When she complimented my presentation, when she laughed at my jokes, when she made me feel like I was more than just another overwhelmed dad drowning in responsibility, I leaned into it. Seemed tense, she said, sitting closer than necessary. Everything okay at home? I should have said yes. I should have shown her pictures of my daughters and talked about how proud I was of Sarah for being such an incredible mother. Instead I found venting. About the sleepless nights, about feeling invisible in my own house. About how I couldn't remember the last time Sarah and I had a conversation that didn't involve scheduling or logistics, or whose turn it was to change a diaper. Jessica listened, really listened. She nodded in all the right places, touched my arm when I talked about feeling lost. She made me feel seen in a way I hadn't felt in months. Deserved to feel appreciated, she said, her hand lingering on mine. That should have been my exit. That should have been the moment I stood, thanked her for listening, and went back to my room to call my wife and tell her I loved her despite everything we were going through. Instead I ordered another drink. By the third round, she was sitting so close I could smell her perfume. By the fourth, she was telling me how attractive she found intelligence in a man. By the fifth, when she suggested we continue talking in her room, I said yes. I was, but I wasn't. Not really, I was just selfish, I was just weak. I was just a man who wanted to feel desired again, and I convinced I deserved it because my wife was too tired from taking care of our children to make me feel special. Nothing happened that night. We talked until 2 a.m., sitting on her bed, and when she leaned into me, I pulled back. Some part of me, some tiny piece of decency, stopped me at the last second. But the damage was already done. I'd crossed a line. I'd sat in another woman's hotel room, letting her flirt with me, encouraging it, wanting it. I'd emotionally betrayed my wife while she was home alone with our babies, probably wondering why I hadn't called to check in. I flew home the next day feeling sick. Sarah was at the airport with Emma, who ran into my arms screaming, "Daddy." The baby was sleeping in her car seat, finally peaceful. Sarah looked exhausted, but she'd put on makeup for me. She'd made an effort despite everything. "How was the conference?" she'd asked, kissing my cheek. "Fine," I lied, "just boring presentations." But it wasn't fine. Because Jessica had given me her personal number. Because she texted me during my layover asking when I'd be back in town. Because for the first time in months, I felt like someone wanted me. The worst part, Sarah tried so hard that first week I was back. She arranged for her mom to watch the kids so we could have dinner together. She bought a new dress, did her hair, made reservations at the restaurant where we had our first date. "I know things have been hard," she said over candlelight, reaching across the table for my hand. "But I want to know how grateful I am for everything due. For working so hard while I'm home with the girls. For being patient while I figure out how to be a mom of 2. I should have felt guilty. I should have felt like the worst human being alive. Instead, all I could think about was how Jessica's text messages made my heart race in a way Sarah's gratitude didn't. "I've been thinking," Sarah continued, "maybe we could plan a weekend away. Just us. My mom could watch the girls and we could reconnect." I nodded and smiled and said all the right things. But in my pocket my phone buzzed with another message from Jessica. And instead of focusing on my wife's attempts to save our marriage, I was counting the hours until I could read it. That dinner was 3 weeks ago. Last Tuesday, Jessica flew to our city for a client meeting that I knew was really about seeing me. We met at a hotel bar downtown, the same chain where we'd first talked. This time, when she suggested going to her room, I didn't pull back when she me. I betrayed 13 years of marriage and the mother of my children for 3 hours with a woman I barely know. And the worst part, it wasn't even good. It was awkward and guilty and wrong, and the entire time I kept thinking about Sarah at home, probably worrying because I'd said I'd be back by dinner and it was already past bedtime. I came home to find her asleep on the couch, still in her clothes from the day, with Emma curled next to her watching cartoons way past her bedtime. The baby was crying upstairs, and Sarah looked so completely defeated that something inside me cracked. That was 2 days ago. Since then, I can barely look at her. Every time she smiles at me, every time she asks about my day, every time she trusts me completely and without question, I want to disappear. This morning, she made my favorite breakfast even though she had to get early to do it before the baby woke. She packed my lunch with a note that said, "Hope day is amazing. Love." I the note away in the parking garage because I couldn't stand to look at it. I don't know how to live with what I've done. I don't know how to face her. And the absolute worst part is that Jessica keeps texting, asking when we can see each other again, and some sick part of me wants to say yes, because it's easier than facing the reality of what I've destroyed. Sarah doesn't know yet. But she will. These things always come out. And when they do, I'm going to lose everything that actually matters for something that meant absolutely nothing. If you're reading this and are thinking about doing what I did, please don't. Please remember that the person at home who's too tired to make feel special is tired because they're building the share together. Please remember that feeling unappreciated is not the same as being unloved. Please remember that some mistakes don't get forgiveness, some betrayals don't get second chances, some choices destroy everything, and no amount of regret can put it back together. I'm about to find out just how true that is. It's been 2 weeks since my last post, 2 weeks since I thought I was living with a secret that might stay buried forever. I was so unbelievably, catastrophically Sarah found out 3 days ago, not because I confessed, not because I grew a backbone and told her the truth. She found out in the most way possible, and I'll never forgive for putting her through that. Jessica had been texting me constantly, calling during work hours, sending photos. I kept telling I'd block her number, that I'd end it cleanly, but I never did. Some sick part of me liked the attention, even as it was me inside. Last Friday Sarah's phone died while she was out with the kids. She used mine to call her sister about weekend plans. That's when she saw them. 3 weeks worth of messages from Jess from work, that were definitely not work related. I came home to find her sitting at the kitchen table with my phone in front of her, hands shaking, face completely white. Emma was in the living room watching TV, and the baby was napping upstairs. Normal family happening around this moment that was about to destroy everything. Who is Jessica Palmer? She asked without looking. My stomach dropped through the floor. Sarah, I can explain. Who is Jessica Palmer? She repeated, still not looking at me. I sat down across from her hand. She pulled away like I'd burned her. She's from the Portland office. We met at the conference. And been talking to her for 3 weeks. Not a question, a statement. It's not what it looks like. That's when she finally looked at me. I've never seen pain like that on another human being's face. Pure devastating pain that I had caused. She sent a photo of herself in lingerie yesterday, Mike. At 2 p.m. While I was home with our children. While I was changing our daughter's diaper and wondering why I seemed so distant lately. While I was blaming for not being a good enough wife. I wanted to. Right there at that kitchen table. I wanted to cease to exist rather than see what I'd done to the woman I'd promised to love and protect forever. Did sleep with her. The question hung in the air. I could have lied. Should have lied maybe. But I was so tired of carrying the weight of it alone. Once she made this sound. This broken animal sound that came from somewhere deep inside her chest. Then she was quiet for so long I thought she might have stopped breathing. Where? Sarah, please. Dubbery. The Marriott downtown. When she came for that client meeting. When said we're having drinks with Tom from accounting. I nodded. Looked me in the eye and lied to me. Came home and me good night had been with another woman. Another nod. Each admission felt like pulling glass from my throat. Held our baby. Read Emma a bedtime story. Made love to me 2 nights later. And the entire time we're lying. She was crying now, but silently. Tears just streaming down her face while she stared at me like she was seeing me for the first time. I'm sorry. I whispered. Sarah, I'm so sorry. Sorry. She laughed, but it was hollow. Broken. Destroyed our marriage, destroyed our family, destroyed me, and her sorry. Emma came into the kitchen then, asking for a snack. Sarah wiped her face, got and made our daughter a sandwich like nothing had happened. Like her entire world hadn't just imploded. That's who she is. That's who I betrayed. A woman who can hold herself together for our children even when she's falling apart. After Emma went back to watch TV, Sarah turned to me. I need to leave. Sarah, please. We can work through this. I'll do anything. Need to leave. Now, before the girls see me completely break down. I packed a bag. The whole time I kept thinking she'd change her mind. That she'd stop me, tell me we could figure it out. She didn't. She sat in the living room with Emma, reading her a book, pretending everything was normal while I stuffed clothes into a suitcase. When I tried to say goodbye to Emma, Sarah just shook her head. Don't dare make this harder on her than it already is. I've been staying at a hotel for 3 days now. The same chain where I met Jessica. The irony isn't lost on me. Sarah won't take my calls. She responds to texts about logistics only when I can see the kids, what bills need to be paid. Her sister came to pick more of my things yesterday. Apparently Sarah can't stand to have my belongings in the house. The worst part is watching Emma try to understand. I picked her for dinner yesterday, our first time alone since everything happened. She was quiet in the car just staring out the window. Daddy, and Mummy getting divorced. 4 years old, and she's already learned that word. Already understands that families can break. I don't know, sweetheart. Mummy cries a lot now. She thinks I don't see, but I do. I had to pull over cause I couldn't see through my tears. Is it because of me, because I was bad? No baby. No, this has nothing to do with this is Daddy's fault. Can't fix it. I wanted to lie to her. To tell her everything would be okay. But I couldn't. I don't think so. She started crying then. Big heartbroken sobs from a little girl who doesn't understand why her safe world suddenly isn't safe anymore. I held her in that parking lot and realized that this is the moment she'll remember forever. This is when her childhood ended, when she learned that daddies can leave, that families can break, that the people trust most can the deepest. I did that to her. I took away her security, her innocence, her belief that her parents were unshakable. For 3 hours with a woman whose last name I had to look in the company directory. Work is a nightmare. News travels fast in a small office. People know something happened because Sarah used to come to company events, and now I'm obviously alone. They're too polite to ask directly, but I can see it in their eyes. The judgment, the knowledge that I'm that guy. The one who cheated on his wife while she was home with a newborn. Jessica tried to call me yesterday. I finally answered. I heard about and wife, she said. I'm sorry, I never meant for this to happen. We both did. Maybe this is a good thing. Maybe now we can actually be together. I hung, blocked her number. Finally, because that's the thing I'm just now understanding. This was never about Jessica. This was never about feeling unappreciated or unloved. This was about me being a selfish, weak man who chose momentary gratification over everything that actually mattered. Jessica was just the weapon I used to destroy my own. Sarah's lawyer called today. Divorce papers are being filed. She wants full custody, provides visitation for me until we can work out a permanent arrangement. She's keeping the house obviously. I'll be paying child support and alimony, which is fine. It's the least I can do. But money won't fix what I broke. Money won't give Emma back her sense of security. Money won't undo the trauma I've caused my infant daughter, who will grow in a broken home because her father couldn't control himself. I saw my therapist today. First time I've ever been to therapy. She asked me what I hope to accomplish. I want to understand why I did this. I want to make sure I never anyone like this again. What do you think I'll find? I don't know. Some explanation that makes sense. Some reason that justifies it. She was quiet for a long time. What if there isn't one? What if just made a selfish choice that everyone loved? That hit harder than any anger, any screaming, any punishment. The simple truth that sometimes people just do terrible things for no good reason. I destroyed 13 years of marriage, traumatized my children, and broke the heart of the best person I've ever known because I wanted to feel desired by a stranger. There's no therapy for that level of selfishness. There's no explanation that makes it okay. There's just the wreckage, and the knowledge that I'm the one who caused all of it. It's been 6 months since my imploded. 6 months since I lost everything that mattered for 3 hours with a stranger. I'm writing this final update because some have asked what happened, but mostly because I need to document what living with this kind of regret actually looks like. Maybe someone will read this and make a different choice. The divorce was finalized last month. Sarah kept her maiden name throughout our marriage, so she didn't have to deal with the humiliation of changing it back. Small mercy for someone who deserved none of the pain I caused her. I see my daughters every other weekend and one evening a week. Supervised visitation ended after 3 months when the court-appointed counselor determined I wasn't a flight risk or danger to the kids. Just a cheater. Just a man who destroyed his family for momentary pleasure. Emma is in therapy now. She has nightmares where I disappear for her. She started wetting the bed again, something she hadn't done since she was 2. Her preschool teacher says she's aggressive with other kids now, angry in ways she never was before. Last weekend, she asked me again if I could fix our family. I could, sweetheart, but some things can't be fixed once they're broken. Like when I dropped mommy's favorite mug. Worse than that. Much worse than that. She's too young to understand that I didn't just break something precious. I chose to break it. I picked everything we'd built together and against the wall because I was bored, because I felt unappreciated, because I wanted something shiny and new. The baby Lily is walking now. She takes her first steps when I'm not there. She says her first words when I'm not there. She's growing in a home where daddy is a weekend visitor, not a constant presence. She'll never know what it feels like to have both parents under the same roof, to feel that complete security that Emma had for 4 years before I destroyed it. Sarah looks different now, thinner, older. There's a hardness in her eyes that wasn't there before. She started dating someone. His name is David and he coaches Emma's soccer team. He's everything I wasn't: patient, present, trustworthy. Emma adores him. I found out when I picked Emma 2 weeks ago and he answered the door. Must be Emma's dad, he said, extending his hand like a decent human being, like I deserved basic courtesy after what I'd done. Emma ran to get her backpack, and in those few seconds of awkward silence, I realized this was my replacement. This was the man who would tuck my daughter in at night, who would comfort her when she had nightmares, who would walk her down the aisle someday. This was the man who would be the father I chose not to be. She's an amazing kid, he said, and I could tell he genuinely meant it. Yeah, she is. SARS told me a lot about her. About both girls actually. We're lucky. Past tense, I was lucky. When Emma came back she hugged him goodbye. This stranger who'd been in her for maybe 2 months got a hug goodbye. She used to hug me like that. Before I taught her that people love can disappear without warning. Sarah appeared in the doorway, and for just a second, she looked at David the way she used to look at me. Like he was her safe place. Like he was home. I used to be someone's home. Now I'm the cautionary tale she'll probably tell him someday about why trust matters. About what happens when someone betrays everything built together. Work is barely tolerable. I was passed over for the promotion I'd been working toward for 2 years. Not officially because of the divorce, but everyone knows. The company Christmas party is next week, and I'll go alone while watching all my colleagues with their intact families, their unbroken marriages, their children who still believe their fathers are heroes. I've been going to therapy twice a week. Dr. Martinez keeps asking me what I've learned from this experience, like there's some profound insight that will make the destruction worthwhile. I learned that I'm selfish. I tell her. What else? I learned that momentary pleasure isn't worth lifetime consequences. What else? I learned that some mistakes don't get forgiveness. She nods like I'm making progress, but I don't feel like I'm learning anything new. I feel like I'm just stating obvious truths that I ignored when it mattered. The hardest part is the loneliness. Not just being alone, but knowing that I chose this loneliness. I had a wife who loved me, children who adored me, a family that was my entire world, and I traded all for 3 hours with someone who stopped texting me the day Sarah found out. Jessica never called after that last conversation. Never sent a sympathy card when she heard about the divorce. Never acknowledged that she'd helped destroy a family. She just disappeared back to Portland in her own, probably already working on the next married man who would make her feel special. I was completely disposable to her. A momentary entertainment. A way to feel powerful and desired. And I gave everything for that. My parents barely speak to me now. Sarah was like a daughter to them, and Emma and Lily were their world. Now they see their granddaughters every other weekend, same as me, because Sarah is gracious enough to maintain that relationship despite what I did. My mom called last week to tell me about Lily's new tooth. She was crying. I should be there every day watching her grow, she said. These babies are growing without us because of what did. I wanted to defend, to explain, to make her understand that I was too. But what could I say? That I was sorry. That I regretted it. That I would take it back if I could. All of that was true, but none of it changed anything. My regret doesn't give Emma back her sense of security. My apologies don't give Lily back her intact family. My pain doesn't undo Sarah's betrayal. Last weekend was Halloween. Emma was a princess and Lily was a pumpkin. Sarah sent me pictures because she's still kind enough to include me in these moments, even though I forfeited the right to be there. I sat in my studio apartment looking at photos of my daughters, first Halloween without me, and realized this is mine now. This is what I chose. Weekend visits and text message updates and watching my families continue without me through smartphone pictures. David was in the background of one photo helping Emma with her costume. He looked natural there. Like he belonged. Like he'd always been part of their story instead of the man who stepped in after I destroyed everything. The worst part is knowing that Emma will probably call him dad someday. Not instead of me, but in addition to me. He'll be the dad who's there every day, and I'll be the dad who visits on weekends and sends child support checks. He'll deserve that title. He's doing the job I abandoned. I think about writing Sarah a letter sometimes, telling her how sorry I am, how much I regret everything, how I would do anything to take it back. But what would be the point? My apologies can't rebuild what I destroyed. My regret can't undo her trauma. My promises can't restore her trust. She's building a new now. A better, with a man who won't betray her, who won't choose momentary pleasure over everything they've built together. She's happy in ways I never saw her be with me, even before I cheated. Maybe I was never the right husband for her. Maybe she deserves someone better than I ever was or ever could be. But Emma and Lily deserved better from their father. They deserved a man who would protect their family, not destroy it. They deserved to grow feeling secure and loved and safe, not wondering if the people they trust most will abandon them. I think about that hotel room sometimes. Those 3 hours that cost me everything. I try to remember if it was worth it, if there was some moment of pleasure or connection that might somehow justify the destruction that followed. There wasn't. It was awkward and empty and wrong. And even while it was happening, I knew I was making the biggest mistake of my. But I did it anyway because I'm weak, because I'm selfish, because I wanted to feel desired more than I wanted to protect the people I loved most. That's the truth I have to live with. Not that I made a mistake in a moment of weakness. Not that I was seduced or manipulated or driven to it by circumstances beyond my control. I chose this. I chose 3 hours with a stranger over 13 years with the love of my. I chose momentary gratification over my children's security. I chose to be the villain in my own family story. And now I get to live with being that villain for the rest of my. If we're reading this and are thinking about cheating, if we're justifying it in head, if we're telling spouse doesn't appreciate or deserve better, or it's just one time and no one will get, please remember this: the person you're about to betray trusted with their heart, their body, their future, their children. They chose over everyone else in the world. They built it with based on the promise that would be faithful, that would put family first, that would protect what built together. When cheat, don't just break their heart. Break their ability to trust. Break their sense of security. Break their children's world. Break everything, and no amount of regret can put it back together. The person cheat with will move on with their life, nothing happened. But the family destroy will carry that destruction forever. Choose wisely, because once crossed that line, there's no going back. Some betrayals echo forever, and the person who caused them learns to live with the sound.